Cool. All right. So, Mr. Michael Johnson, I heard you got some good news coming around the corner real soon with Grand Slam. Before we get into it, I just want to know your initial thoughts of how things have been going so far, building up into 2025, and what are some things that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, I couldn't be more pleased with how things have been going. Since when we announced this back in June, with Sydney here in LA, it was certainly very positive momentum, and it just hasn't stopped since then. Coming out of Paris, out of the Olympics, we got really busy signing athletes, and that's just been going fantastic. What I'm most proud of and most pleased with is the response from fans
Yeah.
for what we're building and their enthusiasm around this league and what we're going to be doing in 2025 when we start, with these competitions. So yeah, I couldn't be happier. It's been a lot of work. And the team has been just head down, working hard, preparing for next year. And yeah, so outside of that, then the athletes themselves as well, their excitement to compete next year in this league really is sort of the validation that that we're on the right track with this.
For sure. And I think one thing that's probably really gotten them on board is how awesome you're treating them. One thing that I've really enjoyed seeing from you and the team, and then also Athlos, is the fact that you guys are truly treating the athletes like the superstars they are, which I think has not been seen in track and field for what it really needs to be. I know that we've got our top people like Sydney, knowing them, like obviously they get their superstar treatment, but there's no reason why Masai and Jasmine and Kenny and everyone else aren't also receiving that type of treatment. So I think it's been really great to see from, like I said, you and the Grand Slam team, the Grand Slam team, that you guys have just really been going full throttle on and treating these athletes like that because they be grinding for it. You know about the grind. You know, you used to be a world record
Yeah, no,
holder.
right. No, it is a grind. I think, the thing is, for us is, that goes hand in hand with, the treatment of the athletes as professionals, but the athletes actually being professionals. These are
Right.
professional athletes. They are the best of the best athletes. Our
Yeah,
fans need to see that, but our fans need to see them as well. So
exactly.
there's a, look, the honest truth to it is that what I want for our fans is to be able to see these athletes, have access to them, to be able to see them
Right.
compete. In order to get that, for the fan, I have to actually treat the athlete as the professional they are in order to expect that from them, as opposed to, going to the athlete and saying, hey, do all of these things for the fans and I'll show you the result later, your reward later.
Yeah.
That's a difficult ask, given the athletes have seen for so long in this sport that, that hasn't yielded the reward for them. So what we're doing as Grand Slam Track is we're taking on that risk because we believe in this, but we believe that with a league of athletes working together in a collective of 48 racers who are the Grand Slam Track League, that we can actually take that out and we can monetize that, commercialize that, because fans will appreciate it. But what we're saying to the athlete is, hey, here is your reward. We're going
Hmm.
to pay you, compensate you, treat you like a professional. As long as you show up, do your part,
That's it.
we'll compensate you for that. And then we will make sure that we actually then commercialize
See, it's simple. I know it's not simple behind the scenes, but on paper, it's
that.
like, listen, you're a professional athlete, you're gonna get treated like one. So, as I said before, I really appreciate that you guys are taking that perspective and like really going full throttle into it. But speaking of the team, I feel like you have assembled a group of Avengers on your leadership board in order to make sure that Grand Slam track is the next best thing. And so for those who will be reading this article or watching or whatever the case is, Mr. Johnson, would you like to tell us who you have just added onto your leadership team?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to announce that we've added Robert Smith, chairman, founder of Vista Equity, onto our board, and will certainly be instrumental in helping from a leadership standpoint, help us accelerate really the success of this league. Robert comes with a tremendous amount of experience, and his ability to advise us on the direction that we're going, his ability to help us with introductions, his ability to help us with just all of his wealth of experience across so many different industries, and his passion as well for helping, the next generation, which certainly,
Right.
for us here at Grandson Track, that's a really important part of this for us is taking this next generation of athletes and helping them to have the type of platform that's going to help them to excel, not just as athletes, but in life. I know that's a passion for Robert. So really pleased and excited to have him on board.
And I think the one thing that's making me excited about it is because it seems like an obvious partnership. I mean, I talked about it a little bit with some of the other people in the Forbes article that I just wrote about you guys recently about some of the people that you guys have decided to partner with, put on a leadership team. Like a lot of this stuff just makes a lot of sense. And so when you just said Robert and when I did a little bit of research about him, I was like, it just all kind of comes together. Because I mean, Michael, you can think about yourself. And I don't know if you thought about yourself this way or if anybody has really brought this to your attention, but you are a Black man with a revolutionary idea that is very successful. It's extremely lucrative and people are going to love it. And that's the one thing about the Black community. We can always create something. It's going to be successful and we're going to look awesome while doing it. And that's exactly what you're doing. And Mr. Smith has done the exact same thing. And so I just want to know what kind of has influenced your decision to bring him on, and how it kind of feels like to be a chance of Black history. I mean, we got a Black billionaire partnering with another Black man who has done some amazing things in track and field history and is going to continue to do some amazing things in the track and field world, but more on the business side. But together, I think you guys are going to do something awesome. So, what influenced you to bring him on, and how excited are you?
Yeah, I think, I think you touched on it right there. There's so many different, things that make this make so much sense when I thought about it. You know, Robert certainly understands, from at a very deep level, the difficulty of succeeding with
Yeah,
these sorts of ventures, starting something from scratch, going out and getting venture funding and making sure that, you are strategically making the right decisions, around broadcast partners, around data, around technology, and how that's integrated, and all of the different complexities, around getting something like this off the ground and then making the right decisions to succeed. Robert has a wealth of experience in that, and again, from all different, perspectives and several different of his businesses over the years, and how he's had to navigate that. So that's a wealth of experience just from a strictly from a business standpoint that we can certainly tap into. The other thing is, yeah, Robert being a Black man, understanding, the difficulties there, but also the opportunities and being unafraid and, to go out there and make the big swings, which he certainly has and succeeded with those. I've done that in my own, area as well. So
right.
we have that sort of, understanding of, how you actually, I mean, people can talk about, and many people talk about, being bold, taking risks, being daring. But you only succeed with that when you actually know how to do that and succeed and how to make the right decisions along the way.
Yeah,
Um, Robert has that experience. I have that. That's something that we share. And so that is how I'm approaching this venture. When I thought about, how I'm approaching this, it's very similar to the way that I approached my own athletic career. And that we're going to be bold. We're going to do things that are unprecedented that no one has ever done before. And when you set out to do something like that, you know, many people, aren't equipped to do that and they can't see that future. They can't see that potential success. And they'll say, oh, you may not want to do it that way. You may want to do it a little bit smaller, or you may want to, just hedge your bet here, And I'm not built that way. And I know Robert is, and he's not either. So I need those sorts of people on this team who get it and who are aligned with that. But again, more importantly, understand actually how to do it as well.
exactly. You don't become a billionaire and a world record holder by not putting your entire energy into doing something and doing stuff that nobody else is willing to do because the specific group of people that both of you guys are a part of, if everybody could be a world record holder and if everybody could hold $1 billion in their bank account, trust, trust the world would be a completely different place. So I'm curious, like, how did the conversation between you and Robert come together, about bringing him on? Like, how did you guys know each other? And yeah, how did this relationship form?
Yeah, so I've known Robert for years,
Mhm.
and I've leaned on Robert in the past for advice on different ventures that I've been involved with,
Mhm.
and vice versa. But so, I run a lot of things by him. I ran this idea by him. He thought it was an amazing idea, and so I know that Robert's always been passionate about sports, passionate about helping young people, helping passionate about his philanthropy as well. And while this isn't philanthropy, this is certainly for profit, and but it is something that we feel like, there is a opportunity for, to lift people up with this sport and with this league. And I know that that's something that Robert's passionate about, along with sports. So, so I just reached out to Robert and said, hey, here's what I'm doing, and I would love to have you a part of it because I think that you could be very helpful. Um, you know, Even at that point, Robert was already giving me advice on things that was very helpful with some of the things that I'm navigating right now around media and technology, which is an area that he specializes in. So, I asked him to be a part of the board and come on board in that capacity and help us. And he said he would love to do it. And so, yeah, here we are. And just super excited that, that he's on board with us. And yeah, I couldn't think of anyone better positioned to help us, with what's ahead of us. This is hard. Nothing is easy. That's worth doing, and this is certainly worth doing. So it comes with its complexities. I get excited about that, and like I said, I know Robert is that kind of person as well. When you have hard things and difficult problems to solve, that's when I get excited, and he's the same. That's when he gets excited.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point about like all things that are worth doing, like it takes time. It takes you wanting to obviously put a lot of effort into it. One thing that one of my coaches used to say all the time is like the minute you start losing butterflies in your stomach when it's time for you to get on the track, you don't need to be running no more. Like if you, because
Right.
that is an indication that like you are excited that you care about what you're doing. And if you don't care about it, you better get out that lane and give it to somebody else who wants
Right.
that money, who wants that competition, who wants
Yep.
that medal, whatever they're chasing. If it's not for you anymore, like that's okay, but just, go ahead and move on. But I'm glad that you have found something outside of being an athlete. I know you haven't been an athlete in a while, but I think one thing that has really inspired me about you taking this on is that a lot of athletes have identity crisis after they're done, after they retire, whether it's in high school, college, professionally, whatever the case is. Once they're done with their sports, they have a very difficult time figuring out how they can position themselves in society to one, like fulfill themselves, but then also feel like they're contributing and not just, kind of going around and doing nothing. And thankfully for you, obviously this has been in the workings for a while, but you have been able to execute successfully an idea that is more than just you putting your feet on the track. Because you could have easily been a masters runner. You could have been running marathons right now. You could have still been an athlete. A lot of people do a lot of crazy stuff, but you have found something else outside of your physical capabilities to be able to, one, as you say, excite yourself, but to positively impact other people. So I think that's awesome and a really great story for any other athlete that's looking for a way to, hey, like how can I either still be attached to sports or find something else that I think will fulfill me outside of my physical capabilities. So I know you've talked a lot about what your vision is with Grand Slam track, but what is Robert's vision as well as he moves into this venture with you? Like what are some things that he hopes to see happen, or maybe some ideas that he might have brought up to you if you're comfortable speaking about them?
Yeah, I think we see it the same. We see Grand Slam track having the potential to be, one of the, greatest sports leagues out there. I think what we both see is that right now what's happening in the significant change that's happening in the media landscape, what's happening with technology and how technology is changing the way people consume sports, changing people's viewing habits as well. changing the experience for live events, whether they be, concerts or whether they be, sporting events as well. The amount of data that's available, just really creates a green space for us that is just ripe for opportunity. So this league, while at its core, there are some fundamentals around how you create a successful sports league. There's also the opportunity to go out and do some things that have never been done before because there are some tools that are available to us that have never been available before. There's an opportunity for us to go out there in this space and be revolutionary because the way that the next generation of sports fans will be consuming, sports and entertainment, is changing. And so there's an opportunity for us. So I think that, Robert is certainly someone who got to where he is because of understanding and seeing opportunities and being able to take advantage of those opportunities, being able to see what's happening in the future and being, passionate about that and really being able to then take advantage of it. And that's how I see this. So I think we both see, Grand Slam track having the opportunity to be a real leader and a real innovator in the sports space and the way that live sports are consumed and the way that, sports fans are able to have the type of experience that, really, goes beyond maybe their wildest dreams.
And it's so crazy that you talked about like the next generation of sports fans because when I was doing my research on Robert, I did stalk his LinkedIn a little bit. And so there was one post that in the first sentence of the post said, building generational wealth takes vision, resilience, willingness to step into unfamiliar spaces. And obviously that is what you guys are doing as a team, as a partnership, and as a company as a whole. So as I'm hearing you talk about, well, the next generation and I think it's also interesting because I feel like you're hinting at like this can be more than just track and field. Like obviously, like we can transform the sport because track and field has a lot of things it can improve on. So no matter what happens, it ain't got no choice but to go up. But for you to talk about, well, how people view concerts and how people are just, immersed in the entertainment industry, it's really amazing for you to hear like, hey, like, yes, I'm here to change track and field and like build the generational wealth or build the generational experiences around this, but we can take this bigger than that. Like we don't have to kind of confine ourselves to one sport. And I think that is one thing that I've really enjoyed about seeing who's been on your board of directors, who's being added to the leadership team, because you haven't added people that are like solely track and field focused. I mean, Kyle, yes, because he also used to be my boss. And obviously he used to be a professional athlete. And so he knows what athletes to pick and he's doing his job excellently well. But you've got people on your team that have worked for MTV, WWE, like you have just completely taken everything in terms of like culture, entertainment, and have brought it to Grand Slam track. And so I think the last question that I kind of want to get at with you here is what do you think the future can look like in terms of not just with track and field, but just entertainment as a whole? Like, what do you hope that your impact is as you continue to execute Grand Slam track and have it be successful?
Yeah, I think, you come from a track background, and I think that, what I've seen in my time since retiring from the sport and spending most of my time still being connected to the sport, but spending most of my time outside of the sport in business, and where, and seeing how technology and seeing how, so much innovation that's happening in the world is being applied to other industries and other sports. I don't think that we really see track that way because we've been so far behind and there hasn't been a lot of innovation in the sport and it hasn't really kept up. So we don't see ourselves that way. But one of the things when I first decided to start Grand Slam track that I was committed to is not just taking track and improving upon track.
Mhm.
Um, that's not going to help us to succeed. We're not going to succeed with this venture if we're just improving track. So my perspective, my approach from the very beginning was to go outside of the sport and imagine if I were creating a new sport today, what would that sport look like? And then taking the best of track and field and putting it into that sort of blank envelope, if you will. So if I created, a What would the media look like? What would the technology look like? What would the fan experience look like if I created a new sport today based on all of the tools that are available, based on how people consume sports today, based on how people not only consume sports, but how they consume entertainment today, what their interests are, all of those things. If I created a new sport based on all of those things and then tried to fit track and field into that, that was my approach. So that's going to continue to be our approach. This is not improving track. In a lot of ways, this isn't even track and track and field as you know it. This is a new league taking the best of track. But our approach has always been, and I had to take that approach, Katelyn, because otherwise you're constantly running up against things that, oh, well, we can't do that because track doesn't fit. We don't do that in track and field, or track and field
Yeah.
doesn't fit in this. Of course, when I created that, when I set out and with this sort of approach of, okay, if I created a new sport today and I created all of these ideas and this whole concept and this whole envelope, if you will, and then I took track and field and tried to fit it in, it wouldn't fit, right?
Right.
So I had to figure out, okay, but now what are the things that will fit into this? And some things got left behind, some things didn't fit. But I'm in the position to do that because I'm creating a new league. And
Hmm.
that is the excitement, that is the opportunity. So we have, and we will continue with that. We have the opportunity to do lots of things that not only track and field hasn't been able to do, but other more successful and extremely popular sports can't do because they have legacy systems. They have something that they have to protect. Their fans are used to seeing it this way, and they've been successful. Let's say the NFL, for example,
Right.
extraordinarily successful. You can't just go and start changing all sorts of things in the NFL, even
It's
if
not
the
gonna
opportunity is
work.
there, because the fans are saying, wait a minute, no, I like it this way. I like it the way that
Right.
it's always been. We are in a position where we don't have that. Our inaugural season is next year. It's the first time we'll do this. So we have the opportunity to do things in a brand new way because we're a brand new league, and we'll continue to do that.
Hmm. And I think what's so interesting too is that I think it was sometime last year, earlier this year, where I had an opportunity to have a side conversation with you. And one thing that stood out when we spoke is that you were doing your part because a lot of people are very sad about field events and like some events not being in there. As somebody who is an avid track and field lover and would love to see everything involved, when you had explained that type of thinking to me, I was like, okay, this makes sense because you have your idea, you have the resources and the team that's backing you up. And so like who says that like, you can have your idea, it blows up, it does great. But then now somebody else who has the idea to do the same thing with track and field can like do that. I think there's a thrower, I forgot which one it is, but now he wants to do his own league so that way field eventers can feel like they're getting, the same type of treatment. Like the same thing that you're doing for the Grand Slam athletes, like now field eventers, specifically throwers can get that type of treatment too, and feel like they're professional athletes and understand that like what they're doing, it matters and stuff like that. And it's just really awesome to see all of that, how what you're doing can just catapult anything else. Like, yes, you're doing your thing with the bandwidth that you have, but I think if we can shift the perspective a little bit to like, okay, well, if Michael Johnson can have this idea, get these amazing people to back him, get this money and make it happen, why can't I be the next person to make it happen for the next group of people that I feel
Well,
like need to be like treated properly? Because that you saw that we needed to be treated
well, look,
properly, and you did what you needed to do. So,
yeah,
I actually,
I think it's more around, and it's not just because our perspective in this sport has always been so much around, especially us as athletes.
yeah,
We think about the athletes, but you don't have, I mean, those athletes are never going to get treated properly without fans. And this sport hasn't been built as entertainment for fans. That is the problem. What we're doing is building the sport, building a league that is fan first, and our athletes, and as you know, we had them all out here, a couple of weeks ago, and my objective was to help them understand that this is about fans. We are working together, us, Grand Slam Track, and these athletes, to deliver for fans. That's how we succeed. That's how you get paid. That's how you then get treated the way that you deserve to be treated. That's how you get treated as a professional athlete. That's how you get recognized because as a professional athlete, Your job is to entertain fans. That's what LeBron James does. That's what, uh, uh, Saquon Barkley, hurtling backwards over, that's entertaining fans, and they are going to come back and watch again next week. Now they want to see what Saquon Barkley is going to do next,
You gonna do
right?
a
So
backflip this
it's about
time?
entertaining fans, right? Yeah, yeah,
And so I said that that was the last question, but I do have one more actually. And
sure.
it's gonna put you on the spot a little bit. So let's see if you can do this. But I need you to give me one word for so like when you're looking for someone to join Grand Slam, either as a leadership team or as somebody who's an athlete, what's one word that you're looking for them as a person in terms of adding them to this revolutionary league?
That was the word. That is literally the word. I look for people who are revolutionaries, who want to go to a new frontier. That is literally
Hard
everyone
track.
on our team. They have joined it because they have joined this team because they see that we have the ability to do something that's never been done before and go into an area that has never been before. That's what excites them. They've come from some legacy sports, and we can bring a lot of that to what we're doing. But they left there some of the bigger sports that have been around forever: WWE, NFL, Formula One, Major League Baseball, NBA. They've come from there. They come over here to do this because they see that, yeah, this is a place where we can do something that has never been done before.
Yeah.
So I look for people who are revolutionizers.
Space, the final frontier. My dad used to love Star Trek, so as soon as you started talking, I'm like, I feel like I'm out there with Captain Kirk and everybody. Like, it's a little crazy. But thank you so much for taking the time to speak with
Absolutely.
me. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to speak again. I know we will. Track season is just around
Yeah.
the corner, so
Yeah.
I'll see you around somewhere. But thank you so much, and the absolute best of luck to you, the rest of the team, and all of the other amazing athletes that you will be signing in the coming weeks.
All right. Thanks, Caitlin. Appreciate it.
Of course.